Welcome to our lovely future humans, our 5D collective, to the regulars who do know I can make mistakes, I can misspeak, and on that note, in our last video, the one in our lovely embodied self-leadership, mindset, and journal series or journal prompt series, I forget the exact title because I have so many titles, but it was the relational integrity under pressure episode. At the 4-minute and 40-ish mark, I was saying how since I self-regulate, I don't co-regulate. And lo and behold, we always will co-regulate. Otherwise, we're dysregulating. So that's number one. And that's especially for those of you who tune in, because those who tune in without seeing me on YouTube, you won't notice the description box below because you have to find a description, read it all, and then notice the fine print. I can misspeak and make mistakes. Can't we all? In the absence of having a brain that can not only assimilate information in a way of then regurgitating it like a computer, which I'm not. And so some people have a really, really great capacity to remember every single bit of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that they ever will read. I think it's called photographic memory. I don't. So for today, the past episodes and the future, misspeaking and mistakes will happen. In fact, I use words wrong. I know that empowered people know how to have fun with words and information. That's why we're epistemically curious, disciplined, diligent, but just so I can make sure to share with you the fun news of our body and co-regulating. Okay, so I asked AI Google, as I said, I think I said something wrong. That was my hunch. It was like immediate, even as the words were coming out of my mouth. It was like, eh. But then I had to wait for it. And then I said, you know what, let me ask. And since AI has a really good way of grabbing all the information, bringing it. So what did I ask? I said, if I differentiate and link to self-regulate when I'm near someone who's dysregulated, since that's when I said I don't co-regulate on the prior episode that you'll spot, I'm not co-regulating still, am I? No, you are still actively practicing a form of co-regulation. And then I remembered the image of Debdana as she spoke words to those who follow her on NICABM and anywhere else. When you anchor in ventral energy, and she's talking to mindful therapists, I do personal growth, spiritual growth. So I work with people who master and mature their behavior. In fact, they're not their activated state. And that's why we do know that our energy, yes, I was going to write our body's infinite energy. Then I said, let me write ventral and then talk about the infinite source of energy. I'm also a Reiki master. Did I mention I'm a mystic mentor? So yes, as a channeler, downloader, and someone who does consistently have a communion with this lovely infinite source of energy, when you are always on because you actively know self-regulation, there's not one day of bad stress, distress. You always have good stress, eustress, and actively when you're activated, you're not your emotional reactivity, activated state, so you're not your sympathetic or dorsal vagal energy, you're wanting to navigate. And so we will self-regulate in ventral energy, differentiate, and then we will still be a part of the we. And like Debdana tells her therapist, we anchor in ventral energy. She says because we have the clients who come and need it. I don't have the clients who need it because the ones that I work with, one-to-one mentorship, or that purchase the bundles and or the singular digital products on PayHip and Substack, join us there for additional free and paid content. But yeah, mindset and journal prompts, they work for the ones who are consistently tapping into their infinite source of body's ventral energy. And then if you're mystic spiritual, you know all about the infinite consciousness and the love it is. And those who say it wants to experience suffering, that's not really the case. It is perfect. And the safe social ease, yes, that bliss that you will have heard expert yogis talk about. I didn't need yoga because I was ventral vagal toning myself since I was a kid. I have a twin. Did I mention that? So let me read to you. So what did AI Google say? Co-regulation does not mean absorbing another person's chaos or matching their emotional state. I'm going to come in with a note. It's not an emotional state. It's a nervous system state. Let's talk about brain science. And when we have our lovely children around, let's specify we have 3 nervous system responses. And when you use the ventral energy, and then you use that which are mindfulness practices or mind practices, you're working with your neuroplasticity. Let's explain it, because even though as children they were like, just saying that we're playing brain games might end up having them think of the organ, the brain, versus all the neural pathways and our subcortical areas, and like there's a whole bunch of stuff behind it, so we can make it fun, like I'm doing right now, to know that it's not just brain science. Neuroscience, attachment trauma science, the psychological with the sociological, who have the neuroscience, neurobiology, and the attachment trauma. So we need the skeleton, as otherwise we're going to continue doing what 3D, 4D does best, storytelling in the absence of the proof, the data. Science is actually, they have data. As they continue to build the data, mindfulness practices, they work on 5 parts. They use the word change, which is what people are like, they change you. No, they actively help those who got impaired integration to get to their true nature. So you're going towards your true nature when you accept the body's ventral energy and open-heartedness, which is why we want it. It's the love frequency. So neutrality is not about an absence of opinion. It's an absence of being confused by that which is, I have a subjective experience and I have an information knowledge bank, my brain, it assimilates, it will repeat it, wrong or right, it doesn't matter, and I have that which is also consciousness. I have a mind, and the brain is bilaterally vertically overall integrated, so I don't confuse A, B, C, D, E, F, G, because they can touch each other. That's why science and spirituality come together. They're not opposites, and you don't have to prove one is truer than the other. Also, science is facts, handful of it. So for everything else, you can put it all in the subjective stuff, you know what I mean? And we can add up all of those little data points, but the truth is the same. As Thomas Campbell, physicist, points out, love wins. I point out God wins. Then I point out how every scientist is proving that every person doesn't have a demon inside of them. They just have this thing called the survival energy with the sympathetic and the dorsal vagal. So we're going to continue. So when I am near dysregulation, 3D, 4D collective, emotionally immature people who don't move out of the courage and strength, the fighting stuff. So that's why they stay what I call teenager, but it means adaptive child part, which is a Terry real word for those who, well, he says losing strategy because he's supporting men and women who love each other. And the women apparently are dragging the men to the therapist. So yes, emotions are important. But as I was saying, it's not matching emotional states. It's nervous system states. So I'm going to chime in with that, because the specifics, for as much as I fuck it up and will continue to confuse it, that's the one part that I'm going to be like, hey, you have 3 nervous system. At least up till today, that's what we're finding out. The polyvagal theory, he has had a lot of input on someone who went to say you're wrong and myth busted and stuff like that, and he presented his own argumentation. Haven't looked into it yet, but the point is the researchers continue to do research. They also don't get into like, oh my god, how dare my colleague go against me. It's, well, they have a right, like the flat earthers, to check it out, and we continue to do what we do best. That's why epistemically curious, disciplined, diligent, and intelligent people don't take offense when anyone is coming at them with the sympathetic, dysregulated, proving they want to prove they're right. Obviously, this is the part of where that's not how it works. Data gets built over time. So anybody who's the enlightenment soul age group, or the emotion intelligent, which means mentally intelligent, because you own your mind. You see, that's really fun, isn't it? So you self-regulate and you differentiate and you link and you still co-regulate. So it does not mean that we're absorbing any person. It means that you don't regulate to a dysregulated nervous system, but you calibrate, and I'm going to use my words, so I move into ventral energy when I'm perceiving dysregulation, so I can fix whenever I said I don't co-regulate, to spell it out as clearly as I can. Maria's heart stays open, the gut stays on, brain stays on, and it's not in the fear. Panic attacks were the only actual invisible, like, pain in my ass that I had to deal with. Other than that, people, it's pretty simple, because I've been differentiating in Lincoln since I was a kid. I just didn't know that people who lean on you when you're down in trouble, then you need someone, you say you can lean on me. And so I just would learn every time I was being leaned on that, okay, I can be in a compassionate state. So I don't do the let me empathize. I don't feel if only I felt that way. It's, wow, I'm so sorry you're feeling this way. How can I help you? And then when you notice their personality patterns and temperament, with they're not securely attached, so the dysregulation keeps coming back. That's why Pinocchio ends up on the island and doesn't get off it. And that's why also there's Peter Pan and the Lost Boys who follow Wendy around. Those are all epistemically lazy pseudo-intellectuals, and they are all fear-based, quote-unquote, leaders for the ones who actually don't enjoy learning. So they're epistemically lazy altogether with polarized narratives, and they actively defend their suffering charges. What's your blood is right, it feels right. And so you see them using similar words and maybe not even fucking it up. I fuck it up all the time, but they continuously present to us their divisive conversations. Okay, so instead of basically taking in, so instead of regulating according to a dysregulated nervous system, as Debdena tells her therapist, you want to anchor in ventral energy. So you're always on, because why would you ever turn your ventral energy off? The nice thing about having my own brain, observe, witness, narrate, bilateral, vertical, overall, is that I own it. I'm the sovereign ruler of Maria's emotions and her thoughts. You see what I'm saying? So it's really fun to explain how emotional intelligence and mental intelligence work for those who are masters at being adaptive. And so when you're around one person, 220, or the entire globe as a mystic, I was opened up first to my oversoul. It was a small oversoul, then to the entire earth. And Tara Brach explains it in a summit. So Stephen Porges, people who don't believe we're one species and they think we're different than the word nature, they really make me laugh. It's like, you think creator didn't create nature? I'm just thinking like, oh, you think humans are superior beings. So you have an ego complex, an insecure complex. You don't understand what it means that we're all life and respect. It's to all. So you must have not heard God's timbre of you're not me. And I always hear God. It's amazing how he's like humility. You treat everything with respect, even your ancestors. So it's called, we're able to forgive. Jesus taught me very well, Holy Spirit, God, and then my mother also. Well, obviously, here's where science and I bring it in. Peter Levine had me crying after a bunch of courses. So why is this still co-regulating? Okay, so we will stay anchored in our ventral energy, and while you remain grounded, connected, you don't have the need for a resilience program. You use mindset practices, journaling prompts, you have a good time, and you're not going to use this very, very passe minimum or energy leadership mode. I was looking this up as somebody who supports people who want to grow themselves, besides the mindset practices, journal prompts, training, workshops, one-to-one mentorship, group mentorship. It's an informal concept that refers to a strategic survival strategy used by, well, they use the word leaders here, so there's your fear base, to keep a team running smoothly during highly difficult weeks without burning themselves out. You see, this thing about suppressing emotions, numbing agents don't really numb. They just, your body ends up not doing great with the whole drinking and the drugging and the binge eating and the binge this and whatever it is that people will basically use when they are in their survivor mode. So minimum energy, this survival strategy, I'm going to say it's conserved leadership or lack leadership, so fear-based versus regulated abundant leadership. So that's going to be coming up as one of our topics. So do know that it's survivors are like the avoidance, the ones who block themselves off, they withdraw, they build more walls and they restrict output. So they're not co-regulating or self-regulating, they're dysregulating. And some will think AI is a better therapist and that it's normal because they will think it's their nature to dysregulate with humans, and it's not going to be obvious to them that it's a red flag, meaning a mindful therapist, and however long it takes for humans to become safe, since you're not a bear. I mean, I know we know Mowgli from the Jungle Book, and then we know Tarzan, but here's where we are a species that can respect every single bit of all of that, which is our entire globe. So the beauty of the future is it's our humanity, as humans aren't separate from nature. And those who think they're superior have an inferiority complex. It's called grandiosity, which doesn't look charming. It's obvious to anyone who has what is a ventral vagal mode, the regulator, the love-based actual leaders. We will choose to connect, expand capacity, and co-regulate. And so the underlying state is safety and homeostasis, your human makeup. So when you have integration and wholeness, you're providing to somebody the energy their body can provide them. Also a reminder to their own body that they can achieve this state too. Now, if they do anything, or they say that's a bypasser children, that's a fako, they're toxic positive or toxic negative, you just remind yourself that yes, we do have those who are faking it. And you'll notice because they're exhausted and they burn out and they tend to sound like they did something that was completely special compared to all the other humans. There's your, I'm the special group, or there's the special group like flat earthers, and you'll be like, aha. But brilliant neuroscientists and neurobiologists, they spell it out. The flow state is everybody's capacity. So differentiation prevents, I don't like the word they're using, so I'm going to explain. Contagion, emotions aren't contagious. It's not a disease, and even the word disease is being looked at a lot because, it's like if you get a bacteria or a virus or something, but I'm going to put that aside. I'm just going to say it's nervous system to nervous system, because we're a species, we're always co-regulating, which is why, as I said, when I self-regulate, I don't dysregulate. And that's why I said I don't co-regulate. But no, I co-regulate, I just don't dysregulate. So by being able to differentiate, I will keep my nervous system from catching their panic. You don't catch panic. I have panic attacks and I get anxious. And actually, in one of the instances, it was very fun because I noticed that my agitated state of my nervous system was actually affecting my biosphere in a moment. And it's because my amygdala got alerted, because my amygdala cares to sustain with love and ease and safety the other. That's the only reason I was becoming aware of it as it was happening. And that's because I know my nervous system, but I also know the other nervous system, and because my amygdala was interested. And so here's why it is how are you motivated? I know my temperament and my personality patterns. I'm a nurturer. So I enjoy to support those on all of that, which is emotional, because that's what we're made of first. So every person's child is safe with me, because I'm a safe haven, secure base for myself. And so that's the part of those child parts and those states of self. They live with all people, even the ones who deny that they have emotions. I want to live, it feels like we understand their child is still there, so we will perceive that we are agitating another nervous system. Let me bring in this. So 2 nervous systems, 3 or 4, but it's when you're interested in bringing ease to the entire room. So your amygdala will be why you would be aware of it, because you'll notice, like with panic attacks, so you have enough practice to notice your introception and all of the stuff that goes on. And so when you're activated, you're like, oh, I'm activated. It might take a couple of seconds, but you'll begin to notice it. And then you start the breathing, like boxed breathing really helps, amazing. And you'll be like, this is good to notice. I can practice training the pause the next time. So once you notice it, now you name it, not label it. Oh, I was activated. I have anxiety sometimes of things that I don't know about. That's actually how I contemplate things. I know exactly what's going on, so I could tell my nervous system was getting all into this anxious stuff. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to affect you or rub off on you, but again, it's not rubbing off. I didn't mean to bring to you my nervous system's activated state. So let me spell it out, create the differentiation, continue to link. And so linking, maintains the bridge. Linking ensures you do not emotionally abandon the person. So by doing all of that, it was all cleared up and everything settles back to safe and social. You stay present and reachable, and the other person, in this case, who can also self-regulate, if they can't, it doesn't matter, because you will have eased the entire biosphere or the Mui sphere. So it's 1, 2, 10, it doesn't even matter. You can go to infinity and beyond. When you differentiate and link, you function like an emotional thermostat. Isn't that fun? So the nervous system mirror, the other person's nervous system implicitly senses your calm, non-threatening state. And that's the moment of truth, where a person who wants to have somatic healing and their charges might be present, but this is where it's if they're doing work with a good therapist. When you're doing mentorship, it's because you're actively participating to your somatic stability, your mental stability. So you'll have achieved the capacity to be aware of, here's my ventral energy, and that's where I'm going to continue to want to be. So you want to be an embodied self-leader. So you learn to regulate, regulated leaders, being yourself under pressure, all of the topics we've been talking about in our embodied self-leadership lovely playlist, the particular specified podcast. If you're watching me on YouTube, if you're hearing me, you'll find it out in the description. And on that note, check out PayHip with our new journal prompts and mindset practices for those of you who know you're not your activated state. And we also have Substack. So you will own the brain, observe, witness, narrate. You will own the mind, which has its own sense of being. You will own the self, you own the heart, and then you own that which is your child parts, so they don't come up in a way of you projecting or, reacting, even though you will for sure have affective realism, strong emotions. So Archangel Michael, he continues to come back around for that one message, besides what I shared with you in our past messages. And it is that he wants you all to know how to commit to growing healthy self-worth, emotional maturity, and that's through your mindful mindset practices, through the mindsight skills that Dr. Daniel Siegel talks about. So you sift sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts. And with your day-to-day micro habit, you renew the commitment to yourself with ventral energy and to others. And so as we do live in a world where many do not co-regulate, and that means they don't even self-regulate in ventral energy, you can be the one human who will be a safe haven, secure base for someone. And that is when they will perceive a difference. And like Bessel van der Kolk points out, that's how people can notice something and then they can change it. As I like to present to you, it's only if they do the EMDR child parts work somatics, and once they're emotionally mature because they're available to themselves, they won't want to choose the survivor minimum energy mode, because you actively are going against your own health. The rigid walls, cutting off communication, skipping meetings, isolating to protect remaining energy, boundaries are not flexible. That is all making me hear. It's sounding like the avoidance that closed themselves off. So yeah, it doesn't sound at all good. And then there's a lack of intimacy, which is not our human nature. Actually, isolation, I think they say it kills more people than cigarette smoking, and I'm not surprised. So when you choose to be yourself every day under pressure, it means you choose relational integrity under pressure, and you know how to anchor in your body's ventral energy, and so you continuously co-regulate, and another person gets to perceive your calm. If they choose to become in that which is their own behavioral and emotional maturity, you got a pair and more. And so we continue to integrate, and that's the beauty of not only the Enlightenment Soul Age group, but emotionally intelligent people who are also mentally intelligent. And so they do know Neil deGrasse is a green source. Well, I'm a red. No, I'm a yellow. But some could say I'm red because I fucked it up. That part we already know. So like lovely Terrio points out, someone can consider you a villain. If you're a functional adult minimum, you're going to be like, well, it happens. I make mistakes. And you're not going to hold it over your own head and talk to yourself like a little piece of shit. So healthy perfectionist, you will be contemplating it for some time, but you learn how to let it go. So the freedom is yours to come together in harmony and find a resolution where differences arise between two. Be your left and your right with your own expanding inner world. It can be between two out there, 5, 7. It can be between science and spirituality, beliefs, morals, values, different love languages, all of it. And by bringing it together, you get to decide how to use your voice and your mind and your body and your heart, and how to make that which is a difference between you and others, and to bring love into the picture. So if you refuse the call to grow more from the heart, mind, and expand consciousness and that lovely body's ventral energy or not, it's going to determine how you feel about life and people, and how you live that which is everything, but also how you will impact the world. So I do believe that leaving a legacy behind for our future generations is to let them know there's really good sciences explaining how humans are made of kindness and good and compassion. They're abundant. Their body's ventral energy can always stay on, and I'm proof of it, but don't believe me, because obviously you don't live in my body. You're going to have to do it yourself as well. And so you choose to bring harmony, expand with two different polar opposites or not. We don't polarize and we don't stay charged. We actually are able to see 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. And so this is why I was laughing at this very specific way of talking to leaders about minimizing this energy mode. So it's a deficit mindset compared to the ventral vagal mode, abundance mindset. And yes, the physiological mechanism. So when you look into it, there's a cost for suppression. In minimum energy mode, leaders use massive amounts of metabolic energy just to hide their stress, irritation, or panic from the team. Like when people are avoiding interacting with people with vulnerability, which is why personal growth is so beautiful for those who do it, because we're not afraid to speak. So Ariel gives up her voice. No need, Ariel, to give up your voice. Just tell Eric what the deal is. We got a bunch of other cartoons. What's his name? Cusco in The Emperor's New Groove. At the end of the movie, sure, he lives with Pacha now, but he lies to him. Aladdin pretends to be a prince before he figures it out. Okay, so all these stories don't make me think, oh, I found some hero out there. It sounds more like, okay, you had insecurities. You didn't learn how to be yourself. Are you a teenager by any chance? And that's how a 46-year-old woman can tell you. Once I got to college, I was wondering what the fuck was the deal with people fucking and being miserable. Then I got attachment trauma educated. So ventral vagal efficiency. When in a ventral vagal state, the heart rate variability is optimal. Social engagement muscles, facial expressions, vocal tone work naturally, and the brain's prefrontal cortex stays fully online without extra caloric effort. Polyvagal theory, there's people out there who are saying his theory is not valid. He's still doing research, so you could just say it's the lens, use the lens. And so that's the part of where those who are empowering each other understand that our lovely Thomas Campbell points out how the truth is not fragile. He's a scientist, physicist, quantum physicist man. I told this to kids when I was a teenager. And so the part about, though, when he says it takes a huge paradigm shift for things to change, I say, it takes micro shifts, micro habits, like what we do in our day-to-day. So for me, it was easy to maintain the self-regulation and co-regulation. And it is because I have a twin. And that's something that is amazing, because I can tell you all about how you can get rejected and still love, because different doesn't mean better or worse. So nobody has a sibling rivalry like a Cain and Abel thing when there's empowered people, meaning an open heart of all 3-year-olds who want to hug each other. Tune into our other episode on the relational integrity without under pressure, or relational integrity under pressure. It's without identifying with your activated state. That was what I was thinking about. So in the meantime, we'll continue the conversation on our lovely abundant ventral energy when it comes to how we can use it in any kind of moment. So good resilience and being yourself under pressure. Check out PayHip, check out Substack, let other people know about lovely IHP, and we'll be back with more. Have a good one.